we want to welcome everyone this morning to this opportunity with campus therapist Marty Green in our Thrive Counseling Center. And we believe it's a really important time to be thinking about these topics, especially if you are in quarantine or just feeling like overwhelming amounts of stress. So Marty's been with us for about 2 years doing incredible work. And I suspect when you see this video today, you probably have already maybe had a chat with Marty once or twice. He's been able to really engage with the community in great ways. Marty, we're really thankful for you, and we're looking forward to this talk on Reclaim.
Thank you, Rob. I'm grateful to be able to be with you and talk about this. Certainly appreciate it. A couple of pretenses, if you will, is there's a couple of things that I'd like us to be thinking about. Is if you're a person who's having to deal right now with having a quarantine or in isolation because you're dealing with the virus, there's a lot of this that is directly pertaining to that. If you are able to get out and about and not having to be in a quarantine situation, this is still going to be incredibly relevant, because our reality is we're having to survive something at this point. It's really, how do we survive to get to the other end of this pandemic? And the fact of the transition that people have been living, the layered loss, the uncertainty, and kind of this perpetual uncertainty has an immediate and constant negative impact on our well-being. And because we're so resilient, we can still activate thriving types of behaviors when we're in the mode of surviving. And that's what kind of Reclaim is. It's kind of an acronym of what are the behaviors that we have the ability to do, that we can activate ourselves, that will improve our mood and also improve our energy, and help us kind of navigate the perspective of surviving through something for a period of time that's unpleasant. And that's kind of what the gist of this is. The good news is we can all do it. We're wired to do it. It doesn't take anything that we have to have anybody kind of bring to us, or we don't have to buy anything. We're already wired for it. And so that's kind of what this is about. And the hope is that it'll be something you can add to your own personal toolbox. So we'll head to the first slide. Routines. This, I'm a broken record. If you've heard kind of presentations before, or if you've talked with me in any capacity, this idea of, routines. What makes them so important is we're already wired to patternize. We're going to develop patterns in our lives anyway. If we're doing really ineffective patterns, like for example, where we skip breakfast, or we don't eat but one meal a day, or if our sleep cycles are, I go to bed at 3 in the morning and I wake up at 1 in the afternoon. Those are all patterns. Those are all routines. They're just they're not effective. They're the way the brain and body is wired. We want to activate routines that really can help us. In the middle of a pandemic, when so many things are uncertain, we want to maintain certainty, and routines. A daily routine is one of the best ways that we can do it. Simple things like we want to go to bed and get up at the same time, just as though if we're going to work or class. We want to maintain those to the greatest degree that we can. Why? Because those kinds of consistent patterns will allow us to not get into ineffective patterns. We're more likely to be more productive during the day or follow our other routines if we have consistent sleep cycles. Consistent sleep regularity. If our sleep is consistent, everything else works better. When our sleep is irregular, everything else does not work as well. That is just how we're wired. And so it's so critically important. Simple things like getting dressed for the day. If we're quarantining where you can't get out, if we stay in our pajamas all day, then we literally will have a mindset of not doing an awful lot. We're going to be less productive. We're going to be less likely to do any kinds of routines or kind of keep ourselves occupied through the day. So literally getting dressed for the day prompts us to do something for the day. Proactive nutrition, to the best of our ability that we can, is critically important. If I'm lying around all day, my sleep's messed up, and I'm in my pajamas, I'm much more likely to eat junk food or to eat things that actually are going to help me feel worse. And if I'm actually trying to recover from something, from an illness, our food sources are really critical to help us heal and to get better. versus if we're eating stuff that's not good for us, it actually can increase inflammation in the body. It can actually increase the stress in the body, which can have a direct impact on an illness that we're trying to get over or to heal from. And then completing tasks. It's important. Homework assignments, whatever those tasks are, that we have them and we do them. Because if we feel productive, it passes the time and it helps us get through the day more effectively rather than basically just wallowing in basically the stress or negativity. So routines are a way to boost our mood and our energy levels. Let's go to the next one, please. Exercise, regular movement. Now, obviously, if you're quarantined and you are not, or if you're actually dealing with the virus itself, and if you're able to, we need to have some kind of movement each day. The good news about the technology out there is you get on YouTube and you can find literally a raft of little mini exercise routines or yoga routines, 10 to 15 minutes. We know that if folks move for at least a half hour a day, they are much less likely to compulsively eat. They're more likely to get things done. They're less likely to experience any type of panic or anxiety. There's a whole list of positive mood elevating responses when we do some kind of movement. My recommendation is 10 to 15 minutes a couple of times a day to kind of build it into your daily routine. So as you're kind of getting through the day. Remember, we're trying to survive something for a period of time, but to try to do so as effectively as possible, so not to enhance the negative that we're already kind of experiencing. And exercise or enjoyable movement is an easy way to do it. And we don't have to go buy anything. We don't have to go to a gym. We don't have to even leave. We literally can find various things, and a variety of them that we can just do in our own space that we're quarantining or isolating in. All right, next one, please. Creativity. All right. When we have time that we're filling, a critical way to do it is doing things that we used to do when we were little kids. Coloring, painting. If you play an instrument, play your instrument, listening to music, baking, even creating an aesthetic space where you're living, pleasure reading. All of these things activate the same part of the brain that oftentimes medications are used to ease distress. And so it also allows us to kind of activate various neurotransmitters in the brain that help kind of bring satisfaction and bliss or relaxation. And it's a good way to spend time when we're trying to fill time. It's a mood elevator. And anytime that we boost our mood, we're more likely to do other things that are good for us, that are positive for us. We're more likely to be more productive when we're trying to finish homework or do things, doing various tasks that we need to get done. The adult coloring book craze that happened a few years ago, well, there's all kinds of research as why that was so popular. Is when we do things that are creative, it's actually medicine. It's good for us. And when we're dealing with an illness, or getting better from an illness, or dealing with quarantine where we're limited in our access to do things, activating any type of creativity is something that is mood medicine that helps us feel better, and that's what makes it work as well as it does. All right, next one, please. This is really important. Kind of the lead away from too much news and social media. It's important to be informed. It's important that we connect. We need a portion control, though, about the negativity. There's so much negativity right now that we're inundated with it. Now, we want to be informed so we can make proactive choices and prioritize safety and our well-being. But the negative loop, if it is a continual thing, negativity is incredibly contagious, and it wears us down. It actually increases the stress hormone in the body, and that increases inflammation, that increases all kinds of physical and emotional, mental distress. And so we need to portion control that and reduce that as much as we can. If we want to use social media, using inspirational TED Talks, things that are humorous, that are positive. It's important that we infiltrate ourselves with that and stay away from too much of the negative, because that loop does affect our health, and we're trying to reduce things that are going to cause more distress when we're in a place of trying to heal. Next one, please, Rob. A, acts of kindness. What we know, and this is, and I say we, I mean folks who kind of study the human brain and human behavior, is when we do acts of kindness, it elevates some of the parts of the brain that people often use drugs to try to elevate. And so when we do things that help someone else feel better, we feel better. There's a direct link to our well-being. When we're isolated, when we can't physically do it, we can't go out there to social venues, but there's some ways that we can do it. Connecting with friends, reaching out and check on people that just to see how they're doing, where we can do it kind of virtually, with our screens, with the phone, sending appreciation texts to people who are significant in your life to let them know why they're important to you. There were actually various types of experiments or research where people who sent out kind of appreciation responses, or had conversations with people in their lives of how much they appreciated kind of the elevation of their mood for the next several weeks. There's this ongoing benefit by doing little acts of kindness. It's also a good way for us to get out of our own head if we're in quarantine, just thinking about how miserable it is to be in quarantine. And like the walls are coming in on us, which is understandable. But when we do something that actually is experienced as kind to somebody else or helps someone else feel better, we're also the direct recipient of that improved mood or that positivity. And so it's also something to do where it gives us perspective. And so that what makes it also a mood elevating type of self-care behavior. All right. The I, initiating decluttering space. It's real easy when we are kind of stuck to just be stuck and just allow clutter and things around our physical space to also kind of be kind of a mess. And because we're feeling like a mess. One of the wonderful things is cleaning our space or decluttering so that we have less mess around us. We also know that psychologically we feel safer and we feel like we have a sense of control, especially when we're dealing with something that may at times where we feel out of control. So directly impacting our physical space by decluttering, cleaning up, getting rid of junk, cleaning up corners, and so it just feels tidy. We feel more in control, and as I said, the psychological safety, so decluttering. The M, meditation and mindfulness. There's a lot of talk about this and have for quite some time, and oftentimes folks kind of write it off as kind of some kind of hippy-dippy thing, or it's not for me. When folks are hyper-focused on a video game and they kind of lose track of time and they are basically kind of shut out the world, they're becoming hyper-focused on something, and in some ways that matches what meditation and mindfulness does. It allows us to become very focused and in the present. And so utilizing meditation and mindfulness is not something that's super complicated. It's something that any of us can do because all it takes is us learning how to breathe in and out. And from there, the process will kind of happen by itself. The great thing is there's just a list of various types of guided sessions on YouTube and all kinds of variety out there that some folks might want relaxing sounds in the background or some kind of relaxing music. Some folks want a guided voice. It's accessible. We want to start probably with 2 to 5 minutes, probably start with 2 minutes if you've never done it before, because initially, if you haven't done it, your brain is going to have all kinds of thoughts, and folks are going to feel kind of restless, because most of us don't know how to sit down and slow down. We're always moving, we're always on the go. Meditation and mindfulness also has got just, again, a raft of benefits for the physical body. It helps reduce stress. It can reduce, hypertension. Folks who master meditation and mindfulness actually have been able to get off, blood pressure medication. There's just all kinds of benefits. Why does this matter when we're dealing with being quarantined or when we're dealing with being isolated? Is it reduces our anxiety. It reduces the distress connected to, having to deal with something that we don't want to deal with. And it's something that's very easy that we can do, especially if it's guided. We don't have to sit there and figure it out for ourselves. We can just allow ourselves to do it. And so the reclaim behavioral strategies, every single one of them, they do two things. They boost mood and they boost energy. And when we do those two things, we're more likely to do other things that will boost mood and boost energy. Because as much as negativity is contagious, so is positivity. And when we do things that are positive, the brain and body will look for more positive things to do. It's also a way that we can structure our day as we're surviving a day to get through a quarantine or to get through an isolation. We're not helpless. So we're just not waiting for it to end. We're just actively doing things to take care of ourselves as we're getting through something that none of us would want to do. They're effective, they work, and it's a way of self-empowering ourselves.
And I think that's such an important thing. I even find myself in quarantine today and thinking about, rather than waiting or being acted upon, the agency that I have to literally do something in the process. Now, if you're hearing this today and you wonder, like, okay, one of these ideas I'm going to really capture, but I still need to talk to somebody because I just need a little push, a little more one-on-one push. Let me give you a couple advertisements about the Thrive Counseling Center. Of course, here's Marty's contact. He's our director therapist. You'll see his information there on ways to get a hold of him. We also have Glenna Henson. She's a newer therapist for us, but been working a long time in our community. Contact for her. And a third member of the team is Cecil Williams. He's worked with an ACE program, but also a part of the Thrive Center. So to encourage you to reach out, to know that you're not alone. The Thrive Counseling Center, the Office of Spiritual Life, want to thank you. And please know, even though you may feel alone in this moment, we at the university are standing with you. All right, have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rob. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Marty.
All right, bye-bye.